Okay, guys, let's keep going. Uh, let's keep going. All right, so I want to add some shadows to the eyes here. I want to keep this rounded out. Wanna like it's the right pencil? No, I don't think this is the right pencil. I just wanna keep the shading correct here. Not that this is final, but it helps you're seeing the volumes correctly. The shapes can like I said last night, the shapes can look off if your volumes are look wrong. Sometimes it's just best to just well, let me see. Distance to the edge here. This length should be equal to the length here. Almost be here. We're off by 1 mm. How much that would change things, but then this eye here, the length of the edge here is almost the same as here, so at some point here the hair would drop here, the hair drop that goes, correct that, which then climbs right at this angle here. Okay, that will help us find these points. So basically the length of the nose from here, almost the same as the length of, fix this first here, the line that goes through here. It's a very subtle stuff, but eventually gonna help us later on. Is okay. Her bone here that goes through here is actually just half same size as this one here, which ends here and goes here and curves a little bit down there, then goes down here, find this curve here directly there, drops down here a little bit, and this one curves into there. Be careful with that. It's a curve, and then from there kind of rounds out here. We're gonna do the shadow, the shape kind of bends three ways, like here, and there's a line that goes here, it curves up here, and this curve drops down here almost close to here, which follows that curve there, head, the forehead. So now that we have this line, we can then use that, actually double it here, and then actually double it, actually about here a little bit. That might be a little bit off. Yeah, her head falls backwards here. That goes straight right to the spark here in the face. Should be here. That should be the tip hair here, which divides like that. Yeah. As that goes, the shape now, we have this hair, right? Can now find a curve that follows that hairline. We can still use our lines here. Slowly chop that off until we get the curve that we need. Basically, we're chopping off. We look for the highest peak of the curve first, which is not so clear here, but there's an edge here you can clearly see, which lines up with here, her hair here. We can use that. Actually, it lines up with this place here. Kind of forgot to draw this one, so the slight dip in the face here, and forgot to place. So on that lines up a little bit angled towards here, so it's almost there. The hair should be here. Then curves down. Actually steeper than I thought. Right there. Just put that in tentative mode. We don't want to commit to that yet. Just want to balance things out here. So from here, I have this edge of the hair here is almost equal to the distance of this eye here. So as we move along, I don't wanna almost, but not too, not too similar, but can get it about here. And that here kind of curves along with her face here, like this at this angle, kind of curves a bit, which then reaches out to a certain point here at this angle. So there's an angle here. There's a point here, kind of follows this angle of her eye here. There's an angle here, kind of follows that line. It's almost, from this point, it's almost 50 degrees. So 45 is here, almost 50 is here. So almost here, there's somewhere there. You can follow that. Also the edge here kind of has the same, like a little bit higher, maybe 60, 65 degrees up there. A little bit straight, yeah, almost straight actually. This hairline here, almost straight. So let's just put that down. Hit our curve that goes around here. It proceed up and then curves in like this. Okay, this actually touches that point there, and something shape of like an eye that's here. Something like that. Then cuts through here. This. Then curves itself towards here. Not really a curve, these are series of lines, secting lines, defines the flow of the hair here. So check this point. This point is actually lined up with the brows here, almost at that correct position here. So we're almost there. Be 1 or 2 cm off. We'll see. Then for her lips, you can start drawing the lips here. Let's see how far we can get with her lips. Okay, so this point we can slice this down just a little bit off, just 2 degrees almost, a little bit thicker. So let's thicken it up a little bit. Kind of lines up with their eyebrows here. Actually kind of calls into that right there. So this one kind of lines up here, place that there. This point almost center downward from here. Gonna have those points there, but you know, gonna make it too far off. the size of this space here, the tip of the lips here, almost the same with here, this eye. From here, it's gonna be over here, the tip of her lips, angles 45 degrees. Down here, 45 degrees from there. Is it 45? Yeah, it is 45, but it doesn't look right. So that we have that. Try dropping it down here. There's an angle here. It's shadow actually, so I don't wanna commit to that. There's actually a 45-degree angle from this point somewhere here, and that going to be aligned, the point here almost equal to that point in the lip, because her lips like drop down here. And from that, there's a halfway point that it drops down to here. This is a shadow. We'll just go with it. Oh, it's a shadow. Her lips is almost just right above there, so it's just have that down there, and then the lips usually rounds out here, but it kind of looks like it's waving up, but actually the lips actually rounds out here. You can see that when you look closely. There's just shadows and skin coloration that makes it look like it's connected here. So just do that, and this should just drop down here. Okay, have that. And there's a shadow that falls down here on the lips, and the length of this, should check this, like the length should, we should look for somewhere in the photo that's the same, so it's almost the same with this, so we should be able to correct that because it's smaller than this. Should be able to correct that. It's a little bit thicker, shadows and stuff might be affecting that. Lips kind of goes here, there's a curve that goes here for the shadow. It's the same way it drops down at the 45-degree angle here. Let's follow that angle. Then that point just gonna curve straight down here. And it curves down somewhere here. So then this point, actually not the edge, the lip, somewhere it's a shadow, so the edge is somewhere there, curves down Let's just follow the edge of the lips here. Let's just look for this spacing here. Let's just space this. Just draw the shadow here because it's a little bit confusing. It's too dark. Wanna look for other avenues to match those angles. Maybe here, maybe around here. Okay. Look for other avenues that you can, match your angles. You don't want to focus too much on this area and just this area. So if you kind of don't feel confident, just look for other areas to base angles from. That should help you. This shadow actually flares up here towards here. Face, which begins this curve that flows from here to her face up, rounds this cheek. Basically, she has a cheek here that rounds at this angle, maybe at this, the height of the curve, so almost like curves like this. Kind of curves upwards like this. It kind of curves up like this. That's too, I've dropped it too low, so maybe raise it up a little bit. So it should be around, yeah, that was correct, but the drop off point of the edge is somewhere here. It should curve like this and continue somewhere there, which I don't want to start right now. So I want to finish this mouth first. So then this edge, it off a little bit from this point, somewhere around here, and it cuts down at this. There are 2 points here. One, the darkest line drops down vertically like this, a little bit, and then does this split here. Does that. Then inside is the lip, the reddish lip, which is almost 50 degrees. Right there. Doesn't line up to, yeah, it kind of lines up to this edge here, but it shouldn't line up like it. It should be off a little bit, somewhere there. Okay. Okay, then from that point there's a curve that goes around here, but I can't be sure where that is. So I'm just gonna find first the horizontal line here. How far is that compared to this point? Compared to this point, there's actually 2 lines there. One is for the actual reddish lip, which is just a little smaller compared to that. Almost the same, actually the same. And then there's a skin bump that goes here, which is for the shadow area. Just a little bit of curve that goes on there. Follow the angle here. Add that curve, just follow the angle. Curve is actually like this, it hooks inwards. And there's just a line here that goes for the glare that goes here. Then there's a line here that just drops down about 45, 50 degrees, almost 50 degrees, like almost like. Just follow that. It's and the point is almost drops down equal to the tip here, but almost angled up just a little bit. I'll take that, see if that's correct. Yeah, this lip, her lip is actually a little bit off, curve off. Kind of like making a face, but we don't see it because of the shadow that falls from here. This red line actually makes a very big shadow here. Curves like this, which balances out her face. Her lips, I mean. Kind of makes it look like it's facing us. In reality, it's a little bit curved out like this. Just that too much because I wanna lose that. For now, I just wanna keep it there. See, we're doing right. So then this lower portion here just curves down, something like this. There's a light section, just a stroke of light. Lip actually thickens here a little bit, so there's like a thick portion here. Then this aligns to that here. A drop shadow here, cast shadow. Then the length of this shadow is almost the same with the face here, with the lip actually. This is actually equal to this. So it's just that. So basically I'm using both things here, just intuitively, like feeling and measurement. So I'm using measurement and feeling both at the same time, so it doesn't feel, I don't trust my feelings and I don't trust my measurement like 100%. It's just both things should be in play. You know, like as you can notice, it doesn't look right to me right now, but I'll just keep going here. Look for the problems later on. Maybe I've dropped this too hard. I've dropped the angle too hard here. Be higher a little bit. That. But we'll see. So now, usually the length of this is equal to the length of the chin But in her case, check. Not. In her case, the edge of the shadow of the chin is actually the same. So this length from here, point here, and then here to here is actually the same. Yeah, so from here to the edge of the tip of the actually the same with this. So look, let's look for that here. I'm using feelings right now, which is usually not good. Double, it should be there. Cut like somewhere here. Cut through like that. Then straight down from here, it should edge of the shadow from our nose. That should be where the curve lies. Then it should angle up towards here at this point. Like that. Okay. Then halfway point here be like an almost vertical line there, which it curves here. And from that, there's a line that falls right straight from here, around here, falls down towards here, which defines that shape of her face around there. That point here. You can see the distance there. That should end around here. It should curve around here. So same, because an angle that follows this shape of her mouth curves like that. Then this face actually, the face actually like curves. Another curve here, just like from the Lumi's head, right? You can see those things in effect here. How the chin is shaped and how it takes shadow. This is too steep, so I want to clean that up. I don't want to confuse myself there. So basically, it's a curve. It's actually not a straight line. Really a curve that follows her edge of her eye here, that kind of goes like this. This line is actually a light here. Here. There are faces that are really complicated and not balanced that it's so hard to draw them. You're gonna have to forgive yourself when you're using reference or you're trying to draw someone that doesn't have balanced face, and then the camera angle, and then there's warping, all that stuff, and it's doing portraits for those. It's better to just trace it or just use a grid. You're just gonna be wasting your time. As you can see, it's almost the same. It's the same process. You're just, just being lazy and not using a grid. It's almost the same, actually. Principles are there. You're just using your eye and you're just estimating, guesstimating. It's just added, added steps. Some people need to prove themselves. This angle actually here drops straight from her eye here, goes down there. It just follows this line. That's that hair actually. I wanna look for the edge of her chin here. Edge that goes here. I wanna look for that. By a line from the eye here. Right. See an edge here that might be helpful. There's nothing wrong actually with using a grid or tracing, because in the end you're not going to be able to draw it or paint it correctly if you don't have, the right, you're not equipped with the right knowledge. One is too fat. I think her mouth is too low. The angle from the face should be like this. It shouldn't drop too much there. It should be around here. Actually, an angle here goes like that. I think I dropped her lips too low. Raise it up. Thicken our shadow, maybe. That to thicken our shadow. Sometimes it's just the shadows messing you up. It's not actually your. Because our points might be a little bit wrong from the start. So don't see anything there. So Actually is completely black. Just gonna assume that there's a lip that goes there. Sometimes it's just, just use a grid and, just focus on other parts of the painting. Actually, a line that cuts curve. There's a curve over here that comes from here, starts here, curves, cuts down here. This one needs like more focus. You know, halfway mark. Halfway mark. I think we've dropped from the line too much. From here, so it's almost the same here. Should be the angle of her face. Correct. From here, you'll see. Actually, true. Me, I don't mind if we use tracing because still not gonna get it. And sometimes freehand errors and stuff just because it's hard. People know that it's hard. And just because that it's hard, people use it like as a an excuse to fail when it comes to painting, and that's very detrimental to your growth. And it just becomes like an excuse not to do well in rendering and using colors. Just a self-defeating thing that people do. Kinda like correcting your, focusing on making a correct drawing first. Will always be asked then to, it's going to be, you're going to have to do the thing that you don't like to do or you don't know how to do and you can't move on. And sometimes people stay where they are because they don't want to use tools that can help them. And by using the tools like tracing and stuff, so what you're doing is just plotting things that are there, and then you can then focus on other more important things, which the plotting part is you had help, but it's still gonna you're still gonna look for those when you start rendering, and then through that it's gonna help you develop more slowly, but sometimes of sabotaging behaviors like that is then when they start complaining, I kind of understand that they just want to quit, so I just don't want to reply. People just make their own story, make their own excuse. If you really want to do something, you can actually do it. Find a way through that, and then You can't, if you really want to draw like freehand perfectly, you can't color and rendering and stuff like that. It's not gonna save your drawing. If you have a wrong drawing, nothing's gonna save it. It's still going to look wrong, and then you're just gonna be wasting your time. It's self-defeating, Sometimes it's better to just use your carbon paper, plot out the lines, and that would start show you where the lines actually, which points and which lines to draw that will help you, later on when you're shading. So in that way, when you go back to freehanding, you can know which lines to draw, which points to plot down, to use as a reference points, not, it doesn't have to be, sometimes we don't understand something just before we go through something, so sometimes necessary to actually go through the entire process, just not expect much, but try to do more. Some people say tracing kinda stops you from growing. No, actually no. I personally can attest to the benefits of tracing. It's not gonna stop you from growing. It's gonna help you. For a few paintings, yeah, sure, you're not gonna learn a lot. Like, you can't jump directly, just like anything. In anything, it takes time. Takes it takes time. So the lips here and the space in our chin here is actually the same length, and that drops to about like 45. This is the 45 degree, and there's a point there, follows distance almost, and that angle kind of forms. Actually, there's a line that crosses here like this, almost like 10:30, 12, 11, 10. So it's almost 10, like this. Maybe 9, a little bit 9. Then gonna go straight. It's the hair. Gonna curves a little. And the distance of that to this mouth is almost the same like this. Maybe a hair more. So then this eye here, we can now start curving this down. Actually, it curves around here before it drops down. Straight down. The skin area, then the hair area extends here. The line that draws the edge of the hair. It's a little bit. You don't want to frustrate yourself by, limiting yourself. too much unless that's what you want. And sometimes, if you wanna just practice color, you can use a reference without, without trying to copy it. Really, the point of that is just to see, just have a reference for the structure, the angle, and the light. But you're not actually there to copy the face. Like for this, I can just create like a Saro head or like a Loomis head using this reference, and I don't have to copy her likeness. And that's gonna be for, if I wanna just practice like a color, like do a color study maybe. Some angles here, points. I might be hungry, not thinking straight. I'm not relaxed right now. That's something to think about. If you find yourself stuck, try to move ahead. You know, try tracing, and then it's okay if you can take your time. Don't trace everything, just trace the points maybe if you want a challenge, if you really want to test yourself. Make your own games, like test yourself, like identify your problem and then just work on that. But it's not really something. There's a curve here, I'm seeing it. There's a curve from the hair. It should be, the size of that curve should go from here. That's gonna connect to our neck here. I think even that, I think our angle here is wrong a little bit wider. Or the goal is actually the curve, but I use the angles to make the curve. I don't want to just stay with the angles unless you want to make like a cubic face. Okay, so what's happening here actually is her face is too long. Her mouth needs to be raised a little bit. And her nose a little bit too high. Nose should be here. Let me find the 45 degree. That 45 degrees here. I think that's correct. 45 degrees here. Yeah. So if that's the angle, it's the 45. And if the 45 degrees here, should hit this. Correct, that's correct. Just need to either my glasses are confusing me. So there's a little bit warped. When you have like thick glasses, it's gonna warp your vision. Gonna feel like this area here needs maybe a little too long. Wider, maybe. Your nose needs to be a little bit wider, maybe. This is too far. The length here should be equal to the length here. Let's raise this up a little bit. See? Kinda knew that this was happening last night, but I get it out. Still kind of feels long. No, still feels a little bit too long. I think I'm looking at the. Look at this. Should be higher. Depth should be higher. Bring it just a tad higher. All about. It's more correct. Raise everything up higher. And X here. Angle should feel like goes. It looks weird. I found, or phones kind of traumatized by it. Trauma. Used to be just for convenience, like phones and stuff. Now it becomes a bother. Everything, everyone like demands an answer. They text you, message you, gonna expect answer, and in the past, you don't have to answer anyone right there. Or gonna people expect weird. Somebody can do it doesn't mean someone. Annoying sometimes. So your volume's gonna look wrong if you're what they call a structure, but it's not actually. It's just the drawing. I'm gonna have to go. Uh, to do something. Finish this up a little bit just to fix that side. That that for now. That thick should be like this. Okay. The mouth here should be round. There should be a round shape that goes here. Let's fix that shadow first. See it. Maybe that help us nail down certain things. Sometimes missing shadows can, make you think something is wrong, but actually feel like something is wrong, but it's not. Sometimes the shadow can actually help you find your measurement. Should round out here like this, like round out shape here. We're almost close to her likeness, but a little bit wider. I think mine is a little too narrow. Maybe I should cut more over the face, bit more. Simplify this for now. It's not gonna work. Here, boy. It's a little bit. So look, using Riley's and uh, what is that? Those head drawing guides, Riley's lines, and uh, other one that I mentioned. It's actually useful. So I kind of studied that for like years, just on and off. While I was trying to create characters, I used that. I didn't trace it though. I just kept hours and hours. Just sit down in the park and just try to draw it from memory. Just chilling. Gonna help. Most of the visual weight of her face here doesn't come from, kind of comes from the shadows are in this photo. It's not actually from the real shape of her face. So the visual balance comes from shadows here. The shadow here kinda says that she's tucking her lips higher, so there's a slight smile, like in the Mona Lisa. There's a shadow there. Don't see that shadow when you come too close. She won't look like she's smiling, but at for at certain distance, it's gonna become obvious, and you're gonna think she's smiling because of that shadow there. I don't think it was intentional. Leonardo didn't intend to make that effect. It just happens sometimes. What I call intentional in hindsight. After the fact. This is actually a well done photo. I don't know who took this. This is nice. In terms of the lines in the face and the shape, the way the the focus. is used to emphasize, and then the shadows and stuff. Very nice. Not many photographers can do that, right? Some just take it like it as it is, just use the lights, 3-point lights and stuff, and just take shot. It doesn't even look better, doesn't make you look better stuff. Then there are photographers can actually make photos, make art, make you look better, make the photo actually mean something. Like this the direction to the photo, not just a photo just because it captures an image. It's not just a photo anymore, it's a capture. It's not just a capture anymore. It becomes a piece. And it's not everyone can do that. So anyway, that's it for me for now. I don't know if I want to continue this. Really bored with it. There's nothing to say really. Nothing much to say about. Can't like teach this. You kinda have to just. There are angles here that they're very common and find in photos. Gonna take some time, so don't have the patience to do this. It can be done. That's just something I want to say. It can be done, and it's just gonna take some time. And of course, for me, kinda doesn't mean a lot to me because it's just an exercise. I don't know. I'll just keep it down here. Just going. I really wanna just move over this. Like last night, it was cool. I felt like drawing it last night. But right now, and at this point, and I think I said everything I need to say. And you can't really teach this, right? I've shown most of it, like the angles, using angles, in the Riley rhythm, uh, using the head, structure of the head by. I keep forgetting the name. I keep forgetting his name. This was a good exercise for me. Please. This is what I do actually. If I ever was going to paint someone live, uh, I won't. I won't. Someone wants to be painted live classically. I won't. I'm just gonna take the photo and then have her pose 2 or 3 times after everything is like fixed, established, and then just use that her pose as a corrective instead of having her pose like for hours and hours. The photo, the pose will come later for final uh, changes before you go proceed to painting. Then you paint, and then with the shadows and stuff, and then once you reach the glazing stage and you've reached a certain point, you make her pose again. You can find some of the just for checking, just like in the classical era. They draw, they find the likeness, but it's not going to be like completely the same. Because, you can't pose for like an hour straight. When the camera obscura like emerged, then that made things a little bit quicker, easier for the models, and everything a little bit convenient, less hassle. Makes you focus more on the art side of things than just worrying about your model or patron. I think I got her likeness to a certain point. There's certain angles that needs fixing, lights and shadows that needs work just to make things feel more like accurate. I think to an extent I kind of got her likeness. Um, I I feel like her nose needs to be lifted just a tad more. Some more. The pleasure of sketching, actually, especially when you don't have a model that's standing there, suffering for your pleasure. The pleasures of sketching is just to this face, this feature of the face actually exists for everyone. It's just, you grow older, some people lose more flesh here, so this one is gonna bump up like this. Actually, is still here. Her face is a little bit different. Loomis, the Loomis. No, I can't find. I remember his name. So Loomis method for the structure of the head and this and certain points here. And there's also Riley's rhythms, which is very useful because you can find like certain uh, example here, right? Like the curves in the face here actually exist. All those curves thing that we've drawn this earlier today, shapes, forehead here, right? Just gonna go ahead and post this on the Facebook group. See what people think. Face here is a little bit slimmed it down a little bit. Mm, okay. So that's it from me. Wait, let me shade this in. Looking at the photo on the monitor. Going on. Okay, so that's it for me, and